Hello, I'm David Leadbetter, and welcome to my first in a series of instructional golf tapes. I'm probably best known for teaching and coaching Nick Faldo and some of the world's great players, but I spend a lot of my time teaching amateurs as well, and I get just as much satisfaction out of seeing an amateur improve his game as a touring professional. So on this tape, I'm going to lead you through an actual lesson format. My student is a 15 handicap golfer who has many of the common swing errors that I see in my everyday teaching. Now obviously he can't have all the errors known to golf, otherwise this tape would run for about 5 hours. But certainly if you put yourself in his shoes, I'm sure you'll find as we go through this program in a step-by-step manner, you will get a proper grasp of the golf swing. Well, good morning, Bill, and welcome.
Hello, David. Nice to see you.
It looks like we're getting a little break in the weather, so hopefully we'll have a good day for a lesson.
Should be a beautiful day.
Why don't you tell me, Bill, a little about your game and what you would like to achieve in golf?
All right. Well, I've been playing golf for about 5 years, and right now I'm playing off a 15 handicap. I've had some lessons in the past and picked up some good tips from different sources, but I feel like I'm a fairly inconsistent player. I hit a lot of good shots, but then I hit some terrible ones as well.
How many times a week do you play?
I play about twice a week.
And do you practice much?
Not that much, but I feel like I would make the time to practice if I knew what to work on.
Right, well, that's what we're going to try to do for you here in this lesson. We're going to give you a good concept of what you should work on, really break your swing down and then put it back together again and show you what you need to work on. Remember, you're not going to get this in one lesson, but certainly I think with a good concept of what you're doing, you can really improve your game. What I'd like you to do for me now, Bill, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like you to hit a few shots down towards the flag here, and I'm going to put you on video from a few different angles, and then we're going to go inside and analyze it. So just go ahead and hit some shots. Don't worry about me being here. Just relax and go ahead. Looking at video is the ideal way to learn because what you feel and what you do are normally two different things. So we can really analyze it down to the nth degree here and give you an understanding, and we'll probably uncover quite a few myths as well for you.
Well, that sounds terrific.
All right, well, let's get started then. Okay. My initial impressions after watching you hit a few shots, there is definitely some inconsistencies there as you described. Some of your shots were hooked, some were pushed, and look at your divot pattern. Some of your divots were actually looking to the right, and some of them you didn't actually take a divot at all. I also looked at the toe of the club and saw quite a few balls were struck off the end of the club towards the toe. A good golf swing, Bill, has good balance and good rhythm. Now, I see you have some problems in this area, and your swing doesn't flow as it should do. And overall, I would say mechanically, it just looks like your arms are too much in control of your swing. We're now looking at your address position, which we will go into some detail in a few minutes. But I want you to really focus your attention on what the club, the hands, and the arms are doing. In the first move away, we can see how your hands and arms have really left your body and rolled the club back inside. We can see how open the club face is, and also the big gap that's been formed between your arms. As we look at the next position, the club has continued to be rolled away, and the club is on a very flat plane at this point in time. We're now at the top of the backswing, where the club actually is aimed well to the right of the target or across the line. The club face is hanging down in an open position, and your left wrist is also cupped in a concave position. The arms, in actual fact, have lifted from the previous position to get the club to the top. On approaching the position just before impact, where the shaft is parallel to the ground, we can see that the club is approaching the ball on a very inside path. We also see a big gap formed under your left arm. Impact. Bill, here we have a telltale position, what's happened just after impact, and certainly the club face is very closed, and we can see how the right hand and right forearm have really rolled over the left forearm. Well, here's a very common finish position, Bill, that a lot of amateurs have, that very high finish. And the club is really hanging down your back there, and your arms are a long, long way away from your body. We're now going to analyze the swing from face on, and looking at your address position once again, we'll now get into the next position. The 8 o'clock position. The club head has certainly been rolled inside and in a very flat position. And look at the distance between your hands and your body now. Left arm is now parallel, and it's very easy to see how flat a plane the club is on. You can certainly see here, Bill, how much you've got the club across the line and pointed to the right of the target. This is the all-important pre-impact position, and we can see that the club head has been released a little early. That's the old casting or throwing sensation that people talk about. We can also see how jammed your right arm is into your body there, and how low your right arm is and how high your left arm is appearing at this point. Here you are at impact, Bill, and this is a classic position that many amateur golfers get into, where the hands appear behind the club head. I call this position, after you've struck the ball, the 4 o'clock position, and we can certainly see how the hands have rolled over one another in order to square the club face off. Your finish position, Bill, the club is hanging way down your back there, and your arms are very, very high away from your body. Well, Bill, remember, we're only analyzing at this stage. We're not correcting.
Well, it seems like we have quite a bit of work to do, David.
Now, let's have a good look at the top of the backswing position here, Bill. And if we go from the ground up, we can see your left foot is off the ground, your knees are almost touching, and your right leg is very straight. We can also see that your hips look like they've gone back towards the target, and you have a great big turn there, a huge turn. In fact, I think if I tried to do that, I'd be in traction. Certainly with your hips facing the target or leaning towards the target, there's too much weight on your left side at the top of the swing. At impact, you can see how your right foot is flat on the ground and your lower body has, in actual fact, slid forward. And see how tilted your upper body is. You can certainly see how your spine is tilted away from the target. Left shoulder is very high. You can certainly get some back problems from that position, Bill. Look at the position just after impact. Your right foot is still on the ground, very flat-footed there, and still hanging back with a lot of weight on your right side. Look how high your left shoulder is, still in a very tilted position. Now, having a little look at your finish position, you can see how locked your legs look, very stiff down there. Your left leg is absolutely straight, your right knee is not touching your left knee, certainly, and it looks like you've stood right up out of the shot. Now, looking from down the line here, we see how the right leg is very straight, as we observe from face on. Left knee is starting to shoot outwards, and have a look at the left shoulder, how it's going out towards the ball. Very flat shoulder plane at this point. Now we can see the straight right leg, can't we, where the left knee is shot out towards the ball. In your top of the backswing position here, we can certainly see how straight your right leg is and how much your left knee is shot out towards the ball. Notice the gap between your knees. Your shoulder plane, too, is also fairly flat at this point. as you come back into the ball, we can see how flat-footed you are, and your legs look very locked at this point. And look at your shoulders. Look how far right of the target they're aimed. Well, there's a good view of your finish, and you can see how you've stood right up out of the shot there, and you look very tight and tense. This is a very good angle to view your top of the backswing position from, Bill, and look how straight your right leg is. It really points it out, and your hips going towards the target certainly can sense a lot of weight on your left side here. Look how your upper body is hanging behind your lower body. Your finish position is going to look a lot different to this, Bill, when we've finished. In analyzing a golf swing, Bill, one of the things I check on is how you maintain your angles during the swing. Now, the angles you set for yourself at address should be maintained. As you can see, I've drawn an outline around your body, and look how your angles change during your golf swing. Well, we've zoomed up on the grip, and the right hand certainly is not in the correct position. You can see how the thumb is actually resting on the fingers. The left hand doesn't look in a very good position either, but certainly when we get outside, we'll be able to check that more closely. You've got a real death grip on the club there, Bill, and your arms look very tight, and that tension goes right through your body. A noticeable feature is how far back you have the ball in your stance, Bill, almost opposite your right foot. It also looks like you've got your head way behind the ball, which has given your shoulders a very tilted look. Looking at your alignment, we have a very common problem here, which is aiming to the right. Look at your club face. That's aimed well to the right. Your feet are a little to the right. Your hips are all right in actual fact, but look at those shoulders. They're really closed, aimed well right of the target. The final thing we look at from this angle, Bill, is your posture. A poor posture creates many, many problems. Look how straight your legs are, and look how far forward your upper body is hanging. This means all your weight is out onto your toes. Well, Bill, that sums up the analysis. What do you think?
Well, David, is there any hope?
Well, everybody says that, but I think we'll be able to get you on the right track. The important thing in the golf swing is getting the body to control the motion of the arms, the hands, and the club. You know, if you think in terms of your body being the engine and all the power generating from this engine through your arms and hands into the golf club, you're going to be a lot more consistent as far as being able to square the club face off and also creating a lot more power in your golf swing. It's a fallacy to think that you have to use your hands and arms to square the face off. Although naturally, because we hold the club in our hands and arms, there's a tendency to feel that we have to pick the club up with our hands or take it away with our hands and hit it with our hands and arms. Well, to a certain extent, sure, we have to understand what the hands and wrists and arms are doing, but they have to complement the motion of the body. So it's, as I term it, it's the dog wagging the tail rather than the tail wagging the dog. So by getting the bigger muscles to control the smaller muscles, you're going to be a lot more consistent. It's like having a club face attached to your navel. The turning of your body should, in actual fact, square the club face off. We don't need a lot of hands and arms and wrists in order to do this. So that's why good players are more consistent, because the hands and arms are a lot more passive in the golf swing. Now, what I'd like to illustrate here is a situation where my arms and my body are linked together, where they work more in unison. If I get a partially blown up beach ball and place it between my arms here and just make little half swings, you will see how the turning of my body back and forward and the motion of my hands and arms all link up together. We don't want one working independently from the other. So if I hit a couple of shots here, simply taking a little half swing with an iron here, making my movement, it's very easy to keep the ball on line because my hands and arms are reacting to the way my body's moving. Now, certainly I'm moving my weight and turning my body back to the right and through to the left, but I feel that my arms and my body are linked together in a unit. Sure, my wrists work and the club is swinging, but the controlling factor is my body. Very easy to hit the shot on line that way. You know, it's very much the same thing as having a weight on the end of a piece of string. If you think of this as being my body, the string being the club, or my arms and the club together, and the weight being the club head, by me simply swinging and moving my forearm and wrist together, you will see that I create the speed necessary in order to hit a golf ball a long way. So the faster I move my wrist, the faster the weight moves. It also keeps it in the same orbit or path, so very likely to keep the ball, or in this case the weight, on the correct path consistently. So it's like in other sports, you know, when you play tennis, in serving in tennis, you're really using your body. You're not simply standing there and just using your arms. You don't create a lot of power just by using your arms. Or in karate, for instance, moving, you will see, although you appear to be just simply moving your arm, in actual fact, your body is controlling what this is doing. So, if we can learn to get your body moving correctly, watch out. See how far you hit it and how straight you hit it. So our plan of attack is this, Bill. We're going to really work at it in stages. There are 4 stages that I really want you to think about, and I only want you to go on to the next stage once you've got the previous one correct. You see, a lot of people try to do too much at once, so we're really going to break it up a little bit there and make sure that the previous stage is, in fact, absolutely right. So the first stage is making sure you get set up in order to make a good golf swing, in order that your body can move correctly. And that involves us getting your grip, your body position, in other words, your posture, your alignment, the way you line up to your target, and also the ball position, where you put it in relation to your feet. And once we've got that established, we will then get your body moving correctly, understanding how it moves back and forward, how your weight turns, how you create a lot of torque in your golf swing to create power in your shots. We will then, thirdly, blend in the motion of your hands and arms and club. In other words, they have to complement what your body's doing, so we have to understand the positions that they're placed in. And then finally, we're going to link it all together, show you how you can put all this together to have a consistent, repetitive golf swing.
Sounds good.
All right, let's get to it. All right, Bill, let's get your grip correct first of all. So why don't you just take your normal address position for me, and then we'll adjust you from there. All right, so as we saw, certainly when we analyzed inside here, we've got the right hand fairly bunched on the club here. Okay, looks like you've got a hammer in your hand there, Bill. All right, so let's remove the right hand. Okay, now if we open the left hand very slowly, now certainly you've got the club placed very much in the palm, and that really is a problem. I see that time and time again with many golfers, and probably that's the biggest single fault that I see in the grip. In fact, by having it so much in the palm like this, although it might give you a feeling of strength and one hears the myth that it should be a palm grip, well, that's true to a certain extent, but having it so much in the palm as you have and as many other golfers do, it actually restricts the free motion of the cocking of the wrists. Now, I've devised a little drill for this. Now, if you just simply let your hands hang in front of you, you see how it's turned inward very slightly. Can you see that?
Yeah.
See, it's not turned that way, it's turned this way. So now, if I put the club parallel to your hand position there, just outside of your right foot there. Now you grip it. We put the thumb pretty much down the shaft. You can see if you bring the club in front of you here, let's see where the club is positioned now. Open the hand very slowly. You see, much lower down in the palm.
Right in the fingers.
Right. It's certainly partly in the palm. Still, you can see it's up here. And I'm just going to mark this for you with a pen here, just so you have a good idea of where it's positioned. You see, then you won't forget, will you? Right, here we go. That's it. See what sort of artist I am here. Just join that line together. Now, if we just open that up there, you can see certainly much more down towards the fingers, although it is partly in the palm. Now, it's very important that you get this left-hand position correct. I see many, many players. This is the biggest problem that I have, or I see with the grip, the fact that the left hand is positioned incorrectly. If we close that up again, right, we're now in a position where we've got the left hand correctly established on the club. Now, looking at this, you should be able to see the V between your thumb and your forefinger should point somewhere up towards your right eye.
All right.
Okay? Now, can you sense that?
Yes.
Okay. Feel a little pressure in the last 3 fingers. And the other thing I want you to do is to make sure you can see two knuckles on your left hand when you look down. Those two knuckles are very important.
Right.
Okay, that's termed what I would call a neutral grip. Okay, we don't want to have the hand too far round. So the big problem, I say, with many golfers is this palm grip. So now you've established the club correctly where, in fact, you can learn to set the club easy enough. One of your big problems in your swing is in your initial start to the swing, and that's primarily caused through the grip. So now if we hold the club straight out in front of us here, making sure this leading edge, the bottom edge of the club, points straight up at the sky, or 12 o'clock, because remember, we want to try to establish a good grip round a square club face.
Right.
Get the club face square and then grip it, you see. So now, all right, now let's put the right hand on there. Now, the right hand is certainly more of a finger grip. It's placed more in the fingers. And I would suggest, as you already have, to have an overlapping grip, okay, where the little finger fits between the first two fingers of your left hand.
Does it just rest on top?
Just rests on top there, so not too tightly. But there are two other grips where the one is the interlocking, where the finger actually links in there, okay, which is used by people with smaller hands. Or otherwise, at times, I will suggest people with very weak hands might use just the two-handed grip, or the baseball grip as it's termed. But any of these grips, whatever you do, you have to have your hands working as a unit. So let's use this overlapping grip, which most of the tour players in actual fact will use. That's the most common one for sure. Now, if we put the right hand on there, this V here must look somewhere up towards your chin. Okay, can you see the V here looking up towards your chin there? Right. We want a little gap formed between the first two fingers. We call this the trigger finger. And that will really help that grabby look that you had. Your right hand was on the club there like you're grabbing a hammer. So we want to make sure that the right hand is positioned in a nice neutral position where it's not going to overpower the left hand, you see?
This feels good.
Good. Well, the hands are designed to work as a unit. You know, we've got to let the hands work with the body. So certainly getting a good grip is very important. Now, the pressure here, a little pressure right in that, push down on that finger there onto the grip. And so we've got the last three fingers of the left hand. Right. All right. The first finger here. Okay, can you feel that? There we go, that's good. And also a little pressure, push down on this hand onto the thumb. You can see just right under this pad there. Right. Can you feel that there? Okay, so, you know, we don't want to grip the club tightly, we want to relax it. Just one final point, a lot of people say, well, how far down the end should I grip it? Well, you don't want your hand coming off the club, certainly. We want to probably about ½ an inch appearing below the little finger of your left hand there, and that's the ideal position to have it. Now you've got a great grip and you're ready to go. Now that's the address position we pretty much saw on the video when we analyzed it a little while ago. And the thing that was very noticeable was how straight your legs are and also how bent forward from the waist you are. Okay, now you don't want to be in a position where you can't move, and that's really what you've done. By sitting up in this position, which, oh, I can't tell you how many golfers do this. It's the biggest fault in the address position, where they bend forward and the weight now is on their toes. You see, if I push you forward, you're almost going to fall on your face there. Right. So we have to get in a position where we're in balance, where our body can move. You also look so tense there that it's very difficult to move your body freely, and this is what it's all about. So get ourselves in a position where the body can move freely. Right, so let's do a little drill here to get your posture position correctly situated, shall we? Okay, now, what I want you to do, I want you to make sure that your left foot isn't turned out too far. That's one thing we saw when we looked at the video. So we're going to have the feet maybe a tad narrow, but the left foot not turned out as much. That's a very restricting position. All right. Okay, now, hold the club straight out in front of you. Keep your arms relaxed here. Okay, now, legs straight at this point. Now, flex your knees and feel the weight go back to the heels. Now, when you look down, how much of your shoes can you see?
About half of them.
That's good. That's very good there. Right, now, looking straight ahead here, just let your arms fall, nice and relaxed. So let your arms just fall there, so the arms are hanging in an extended fashion. Right? Now, from here, what I want you to do is actually bend from the hips and stick your rear end out as you do it. So flex your knees there, okay? Now, you should feel that the weight is now on the balls of the feet. Should be more underneath you.
It is.
Okay, so you look much more comfortable there. You're in a position where what I would call balanced. Your weight is sort of on the balls of the feet. Your hands are pretty much hanging underneath your chin. You know, with the longer clubs, your hands will probably get a little further away, and with the shorter clubs, they get a little closer to you. But you're in a position where you are well balanced. Now, as long as we keep those arms relaxed, because we've got to get that tension out of your address position there. And you can see here now that by having the arms more relaxed there and adopting that little drill there to get your posture position correct, your shoulders in actual fact are more level. The left shoulder isn't as high as you had it. You had your shoulders very high there, didn't you?
Yes. I
Now,
feel like I'm aimed well to the left.
It probably will feel that. You know, also the ball position might feel a little different to you.
It feels very far forward.
Yes. That's the interesting thing with alignment and ball position. Many people get them wrong because they're in the wrong position. You see at address, their body's in the wrong position, and also the way that they swing forces them to put the ball either back or forward, or they stand in a position just to allow themselves to make some sort of contact with the ball. So you're going to find that things are going to change. Remember I said that in the beginning. You see, you change one thing, other things can change as well. So let's just do a little test here. And this is something, if I just hang the shaft here from the middle of your shoulder, pretty much at right angles there, it goes through your kneecap into the ball of your feet. You see, you're not hanging way out on your toes now. You feel more balanced there?
Very stable.
Good. You should be able to move from your toes to your heels very easily there. A little rocking sensation. Can you feel that?
I can still keep my balance.
That's great. Okay, now, the other little thing that I want to mention is that tension factor. We've got to get the tension out of your arms. So now if you give me the club here, just simply clap your hands. Okay, keep your arms nice and relaxed. Now, take your grip here now. Good. And feel your arms are just in the same position as when you were clapping your hands, and that's the way your arms should be positioned at address here. You see, the arms are pretty level here, pretty level. We don't want to tuck that right arm underneath as you had it. Right. So we've now got the correct posture position, the arms are nice and relaxed, and you're ready to go from there. How does that feel?
It feels different, but it feels good.
Yeah, you want to, you know, these drills, I'll keep saying it through the lesson, but you want to keep doing them and keep doing them until these things become natural, you see. Good, you look great. Now, many players have a problem with alignment. You know, it's a very difficult game when you think about it. We're really sort of aiming almost out of one eye when I say that. You know, we're not facing the target and actually aiming as if we had a bow and arrow or a rifle. What we're really doing is standing to the side of the ball and aiming it out of our left eye. So it is quite a difficult task to get aimed up correctly, especially all parts of our body, you know, our feet, our knees, our hips, our shoulders, and our eyes on line to the target. So what I'd like to do is to show you maybe a little exercise that you want to work on when you're practicing. Now, it's not something you have to do all the time. You know, alignment is one of those things that you can be correct for a time and then without realizing get a little out of position. So it's just something you want to do to check yourself.
Right.
Now, the most important line to establish is your target line. So what I'd like you to do is lay this club down, all right at your target now. So if you can sort of get behind the ball and make sure you get the club right at the target. We've got it about a foot or so behind the ball, because you're actually going to hit shots with that club still in position. So we want to make sure we have a little bit of room between the ball and the end of the club. Now, take this other one, place it your side of the ball, parallel to that one on the ground. Good. Now do the same thing with this club to the outside of the ball.
All right.
Very good. Now, see, you've established sort of a little box effect here. You've got two clubs parallel to your original target line, and you're now in a position where you can start to establish some correct lines at address.
All right.
So, as we described earlier in the grip, we've got to get the club face square. So if you set yourself up, hold the club face out in front of you now, hold the club straight out here. So we've got that club up at 12 o'clock here. Now simply place that club directly behind the ball there. And just look down at your target there. And when you look down at your target, what I would suggest you do is sort of turn your eyes under that way, you see, so you can get yourself in a position where your eyes are parallel, because to all intents and purposes, you want to sense that your eyes, your shoulders, your hips, your knees, and your feet are all pretty much parallel to your target line.
All right.
Okay?
Feels as if my right arm is a little bit above my left. Is that
Yes,
okay?
it'll probably feel that way, and that's fine. I say I'm not overly worried about that, because I think you tend to have your arm too tucked into this position here. So if you feel that your right arm is maybe a hair higher than your left, that's fine. So at the very least, you know, get them parallel to one another.
All right.
Okay? Right, how does that feel? Do you think you could get used to that?
I think so. Obviously, I'm aimed correctly by the
Right.
looks of the clubs.
You know, you really have to keep checking this alignment. It's something that it might be okay for a while, but then you've really got to make sure you check it. And I suggest that when you start your practice session, you might put these clubs down, hit some balls initially with that club behind there, so that you've really got an idea of where you are aimed at, because alignment's a funny thing. You know, you feel one day you are aimed correctly and you could be aimed yards off. So it's something that I really work on with the touring professionals, and something they're constantly checking themselves to make sure they are lined up to their target. Let's do this little drill here. We'll start off just simply gripping the club and getting your line up correct, but instead of getting your feet apart, just keep them together. Right, now what I want you to do is just move your left foot just a little bit to the left there, so the ball is going to be positioned pretty much opposite your left armpit.
All right.
Okay? Now, just move your right foot to the right and get balance there. Remember, getting your feet, the distance that your feet are apart is just a case of getting good balance there, but I would say the distance between your heels should be a little narrow in your shoulders with the 6-iron, and it'll get progressively wider as the club gets longer. Now, if you just move your right foot further to the right, what does that make the ball appear to do?
It moves a lot more forward in my stance.
Right, but really you haven't actually moved it, had you?
No.
So it's really a visual deception there, okay? So if we can really get yourself set up in this way every single time, you've got very much more chance of being consistent. So get your feet together again. Right, left foot to the left. Always move that first. Right foot to the right. And there we are in a good solid position there, ready to strike the ball consistently. Now, it's true to say that if you slice the ball, I would recommend you bring the ball back a little in your stance, and if you are a hooker of the ball, a severe hooker, to put the ball a little further forward. But I'm not of the opinion that you should move the ball too much depending on the club that you use. So whether you're using a wedge or whether you're using a driver, try to keep the ball opposite that left armpit and then just vary the width of your stance. If you can do that, you've got a very good chance of being consistent, and hey, that's what it's all about. Get it in the same position every time. Having completed the preparation to the golf swing, we're now going to get into the meat of the subject, and that is the body turn or the pivot motion. Simply stated, you know, by getting ourselves set at address in the correct posture position, we need to create an angle. Now this angle, this spine angle as we call it, formed very much from our waist here, or from our belt line, shall we say, that really has to be maintained through the swing. So we turn back, we wind up. Now, I'm going to show you a little drill here to try to get you to picture this. I put my hands across my chest. We call this the crisscross drill. Now, I simply turn back here. Now, you can see I'm actually moving into my right side. It's what I call a turning weight transfer. Now, I'm not just turning around one point. I'm actually moving into my right side. So I'm actually moving away from my center very slightly. So you see, in the golf swing, there is a slight amount of lateral movement. A little movement to the right as I turn, and then a little movement to the left as I turn in this direction. You see, if we divide the pivot motion, say, into two halves, say the backswing and the movement forward, it's very much a mirror image. You see, as I turn back here and I turn through, I'm maintaining my spine angle, and you can see I turn my shoulders, I've got my chest over my right leg, but this very motion that I'm making here, it's as if I'm coiling and winding up. I'm building up torque in my golf swing, and the actual speed comes from me turning this at speed. You see, this is my engine, as we've already stated. So turning back here and turning through, this is how I create the motions, very much like a hula hoop. So this movement here gets my hands and arms and club moving. So we've really got to try to make sure that we learn to turn here with balance. Well, we can't move all over the place. The legs have to be very secure when we do this. You know, we see in your golf swing there's a lot of wasted motion with your legs. So we need to try to stay fairly firm here. There is some knee movement. Obviously, the left knee starts to move in, and as we move back, the right knee moves in. But the feet and the knees are really stabilizing, or the lower body, in fact, is stabilizing the turning of my trunk. And this is really what we have to try to establish, the turning of my chest, my pelvis area, and my hips to a certain extent, turning back and turning through. And if we can do that consistently, you know, it's very much the same example as when I had the weight on the piece of string. We learn to move this consistently, and we're going to find we can create a lot of club head speed, and not only that, but deliver the club face squarely to the ball. So let me take the club from you there and lie that down for a while. Now, just take your address position there and...
My new one?
Your new one, yes, please. Make sure that you have your left shoulder set a little bit higher, just as you would with a normal setup position. Now, what we're going to try to do here is to show you exactly how your body should move. Now, you have a good angle formed at your belt line here, so now we've got to try to maintain that angle and move back into the right side. Now, when we move back into the right side, remember, we don't just want to turn. See, that's one of the other myths there that we have to try to uncover, the fact that certainly we have a turn, but if you just turn straight away from the ball here, you can see how you would go in the opposite direction, can't you? Right.
It feels like what I used to do.
Exactly. So we have to learn to actually move very slightly to the right there as we start the movement away. Now, to help to illustrate this, I'm going to put a shaft in the ground for you.
All right.
Right, let's see if we can stick this in here. Right, good. Now, you see it's just a little away from your right hip there. So as you start your movement, I want you to feel that you're almost going to bump that shaft. That's it. So you bump it there. Now you make your turn. So you see you have a little bit of a lateral movement before you make the turn. Can you feel that?
Yes, I can.
Good. So you see at the top of the backswing here, which is obviously the position that's noted a lot when people are analyzing swings, you can see here now that your back is now to the target and you feel your chest more over your right leg.
Right.
Your legs really aren't doing a whole lot, your knees. They're really pretty much in a stable position. They're reacting to the way that you're turning. You can see all the wasted motion that you had in your swing there. I think you should be dancing rather than playing golf, Bill. So we've got to try to keep your legs a lot more static. They've got to support the turning of your trunk. So to help you to do this, I'm going to put our famous beach ball between your knees there, and that will help to stabilize your lower body.
All right.
Let's put the ball between your knees there. So really making sure that you feel as you move back here that the left shoulder moves under the chin there. We can see how the hips have moved back behind from the original starting point. And what I'm going to do as well, I'm going to put another shaft in to the outside of your left foot. Because you see, this distance or this gate between these two shafts really is the area that you want to think in terms of moving between. So we move back into the right one and then turn away from it. We now move back towards the left one and also turn away from it. Let the ball go now. That's it. Very good. Okay. The next drill we're going to work on, Bill, which is similar to the crisscross drill, is simply placing the club behind your back. All right, so simply put it behind your back there and reach up, and that's it. Very good. Right, now, just get your posture position once again. So here we are in between the gate here. So you've got a little bit of movement either side, but certainly it's not a case of keeping the head still. You have a little bit of leeway. Now let's work it back there again. Very good. Very good indeed. Now, feel the flex in this right knee there. At the completion of the backswing, you can see your shoulders turn about 90 degrees and your hips about 45. So that's a good guideline there. And you still have that feeling of the beach ball between your knees, don't you?
Right.
So that gives you the stability down here. Right, now as we move forward, The knee and the shoulder start their movement. Very good. The left side starts to move out of the way. Now your right side now comes through. So you see the right side now comes through towards the target, and you can see now your right shoulder and your right hip are now working down towards the target, and you've actually come off your right foot. So come off your right toe there. So your knees are almost touching there, and your chest is facing the target.
Feels like it's almost facing a little left of the target.
Yes, exactly. Yes, you've really turned all the way around, you see. So don't be afraid to really allow your right side to really turn through. Let's do that once again. So we move back here. Good. Now you can see your left hip has moved away from this shaft here.
You're kind of sitting on your right hip here.
Sitting right into it. Exactly right. Good. Now we start to move back towards the left there. So there's this very slight weight transfer, not a big slide of your hips there, and you know, you've probably heard the term drive your legs.
So my weight's still a little bit to the right.
Yes, exactly. There's not a huge weight transfer at this point, but now as you turn and clear out of the way, we're getting back to that point there of driving the legs. We hear that all the time. Well, am I supposed to drive the legs or turn my hips? Well, to a certain extent, yes, but you know, your legs really have to secure your golf swing. So really, if you drive your legs, if you can see here, just move your legs as fast as you can now. You see, you really get your body gets out of position here, doesn't it?
Right.
You see? So, good. All right, so we turn back here, move, turn through. Now, the other thing that's important to understand is that your shoulder plane, all right, the angle that your shoulders turn on has to be very constant back and through. Let me show you what I mean by that. Take your address position there for me once again, left shoulder a little higher. Now I'm going to put this shaft down, sort of your spine there to represent your spine. I'm going to put this shaft here, this golf club, at 90 degrees to it. Now what I want you to do is move back and turn back. There we go. Now we can see pretty much that our shoulders are turning at right angles to our spine. Right, now as we move through in the opposite direction, unwinding there. Good. So that's the illustration that I want you to try to picture in your mind, that your shoulders turn very much at 90 degrees to your spine, you see.
All right.
Okay, so does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. If I think about a level hip rotation, it helps keep that spine angle the same.
Right. So not that one has to be too complicated, but you see, you don't want to get to a situation as you do where you have a very sort of flattish shoulder plane back and then a steep one coming down. We want to try to match up the movement back and the movement through. Very much that mirror image situation that we've described.
All right. I can see I'm going to have to work on this.
Well, this is a great exercise. This is one that you really want to do a lot, and I get a lot of the touring professionals to do this. And it's a great loosener up, too. It's a good exercise before you tee off there. Get those muscles stretched out there. Good. Now we move through here. Good. Very good. Now we can see you facing the target. Now you can imagine, you see, if one could actually learn to do this on a regular basis, which you can do, it's just repetition. The body will do it if you do it enough times, create this muscle memory, as it's termed. If we can do that on a regular basis, you're going to find that this is going to be your natural body motion. And when we can sort of add in the hand and arm motion, what the club's doing, if this is your base, you've really got a good golf swing. Well, in this drill, Bill, we're using, say, a garden chair, obviously, but you can also use a wall. But it's a very, very good exercise to help you to sense how constant your spine angle is maintained through the swing. Now, that's very important, you see, because in making the movement here, see, as I make my movement, I have to try to keep this angle. It's no good sort of raising up and lifting as you do and then somehow trying to get back to a consistent position at impact. You see, if we can try to keep our spine angle back and through impact, certainly as you finish the swing, you'll change a little bit there just for comfort's sake, but to sense that, you want to feel that your rear end is sort of positioned in a central location throughout the swing. It's a way of keeping your center of gravity in a constant spot.
All right.
So just do that crisscross exercise again for me here. Right, now just get your posture once again. So just lean your rear end up against the chair. Right, now swing, move back there now. Okay, make the backswing movement there. Good. Now, move through in the opposite direction. So you can come away from the chair just as you finish the swing, but certainly through to impact and just beyond, try to feel like you're resting against it.
All right.
Now, I would also suggest when you do any drill like this that at times put a ball in front of you just to make yourself aware of having a golf ball, and you can obviously work on your ball position at the same time. So we'll get it just opposite the left armpit here, approximately the distance that you'd be away from it, addressing a ball. Okay, now, if I just hang this club up here in front of you, right, now let's see, you move back. Now, you feel like you've obviously turned much more behind the ball, don't you?
Very much so.
You see, and certainly without the club there, you can actually do it a little bit more than you would normally. So it's a little exaggerated, but certainly now as you swing back and through here, all right, just to impact there, you're behind it, but then you move once again ahead of it. So you can see it's such a fallacy to try to stay in one point, isn't it?
Right.
You see, you're moving to your right side, and then certainly you're behind the ball at impact, and then moving into the left side. Do that once again. So this is a good visual image for you here. You're watching the shaft there?
I feel way behind the ball.
Okay.
Compared to where I used to
Right.
be.
You can see the shaft here as well?
Yes.
Right. Now move through. Very good. Now, what other feelings are you getting from doing this drill?
Well, at the backswing, I feel a lot of pressure on the inside of my right leg and right heel.
Very important. You never want the weight to go to the outside. It's always feel the pressure on the inside of the right heel. Anything else?
Well, when I come through, I feel like it all transfers to the outside of the left heel, and it feels like my head sort of goes under the shot. Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly. Well, that's all about keeping your spine angled. You see, now we saw in your follow-through position, your sort of head came out of position, you know, looked like you're flying a kite there or something and you follow-through. So this is a much more balanced finish. So you can see by establishing good posture and really turning around it, not around one point, but moving into your right side and then turning back into your left side. And if we can do that on a regular basis, you will find a great deal of consistency will occur. That looks really good. Now, you see, these drills are something that you really need to work on. These are things that you need to constantly work on to make sure that your body does, in fact, do it time and time again. Now, we've covered the preliminaries, as we've said. We've gone through the grip, we've gone through your posture, we've gone through your alignment and your ball position. So I want you to be aware of all those factors, and I want you to work on these drills that we've worked on. The crisscross drill. Put the beach ball between your knees occasionally. Put the club behind your back, and do this one leaning against a wall or against a garden chair. Now, over the next few days, I want you to do these for me so that it will become instinctive. You've got more than enough on your plate right now to think about. So if you can come back and see me at the end of the week, and then we can hopefully go on from where you are. So we'll make sure that this is right, and we'll then get into the exciting bit of understanding where the golf club is and getting you hitting some golf balls.
That sounds great.
All right, you've done a great job so far, Bill.
Thanks, David.
Well, you've now completed the first part of this video, and I hope you've enjoyed it up to this point. There's certainly a lot of information to digest, and I want you to make sure that before you go on to the next part that you really have this down pat. You know, it's so important. If you can get the drills down automatically, the next part is going to be that much easier. So take your time and study the first part before you go into the next piece. Now it's time to understand how the movement of the club, the hands and the arms relate to the movement of the body. So I'm going to first of all describe to you what the shape of the swing is all about, and then add in some of these positions. You see, it's important to understand there are certain positions in the swing that we need to sort of pass through. Now, if we looked at your swing, as we did on film the other day, we saw there was a lot of wasted motion in the swing where the club would work inside, you would then lift it up here, a lot of movement down here, the hands had to work very hard to square the face off, and it really didn't look like the hands and the arms and the club were moving in sync with the body, and that's key. We really need to try to get things working together. Let me show you. I'm going to get a club here and line it up at the target approximately. That's pretty much going down towards our flag there. And, you know, in making the movement here, it's important to understand that this is our target line. The club lying on the ground is our target line. And when people refer to in to out or out to in, we're talking about inside the target line to outside the target line, or conversely, outside the target line to inside the target line. Now, neither of those are correct in a good golf swing. In actual fact, what we're trying to do is swing the club back. It appears to move fairly straight back to start with, moves inside and then up, and then as we change direction, the club will come down from the inside, back to the ball, and then back inside again, you see? So it's very much a case of swinging it inside to square, back to in to square to in. So not in to out. You see, if we have to swing in to out like this, we have to use our hands. And this movement, like in tennis, say, and hitting a topspin forehand, if we swung from here to here, you can imagine with the face or the racket closing, you'd hit a ball which would spin this way, you see, in an anti-clockwise direction. So this movement will create the hook. Now the slice spin is one, obviously, where the club is swinging from out to in with the face open. Or if we had a tennis racket, the same example, we swung across it with the face open, the ball would spin in a clockwise direction. And that is what gives us the slice. So remember, we don't want to swing in to out. It does come from the inside, but gets to square and then comes back inside again. You see, the swing through the ball is very much a mirror image of what's happened back of the ball. So as we swing in and up here, we swing it down, and we swing it in and up in this direction. So very important to understand the shape of the swing. We don't want the club at any time going outside the target line, whether it be swinging that way or whether it be coming from this direction. So we really have to encourage this inside to square to inside path. Now, keeping the shape of the swing in mind, Bill, I want you to now understand the positions that the club needs to swing through. So I say swing through because certainly the golf swing is all about motion, but if we can sort of stop these positions and put you into the slot that we want you to be in, and then repeat that time and time again, hopefully you'll be able to start to achieve this repeatable golf swing. So what it really requires is to choke down on the club. This is a little drill which is excellent for giving you the feel of the positions of the swing. So I've choked down on the club a few inches above the head, and I want you to try to feel some pressure on your left thigh here. So we take your address position normally, and as you make the movement away, as I start to move a little to the right as we described in the pivot action, you want to feel that your navel is moving. So that's a good start to your swing. In fact, that's a key initiator to the golf swing, to get your navel moving as you start the club back. So you can see this first position here is simply a movement, and it's what we call the 8 o'clock position. So I think I can describe it better from this angle. At this 8 o'clock position, I still feel some pressure on my left thigh. So the club and my body have moved together away from the golf ball. Now, I'm ready to move to the next position, and that is where my left arm is parallel to the ground. Now, you can see at this point that my wrists are fully cocked, and the shaft is pointing fairly vertically down towards the ground. So the end of the shaft is somewhere pointed between the line across my toes and the target line. So if we can get it into that position with a plane, this is what we call the plane of the swing, the angle of the shaft is fairly upright at this point, Bill. We can see at this stage in your golf swing, the club is somewhere over here. Now, when we've got the club like this, we've got the club in balance. So very important to get to this left arm parallel position with the shaft on the correct plane. Now, although when we started address, the club is angled at this position, as we move away, the angle gets a little bit steeper as we swing back. So we have our wrists fully cocked, and I'll assure you that most people's problems in the golf swing really happen in the first bit of the swing. So if we can get to the second position correctly, you've got every chance of making a good golf swing. So this is where really the conscious effort should be thought about right here, because, as I say, I would say 90% of problems happen in that first bit of the golf swing. So that's the second position. Now we can move to the next position, which is the top of the backswing position, where all I do at this point is just complete my turn, and my club should get parallel to my target line at this point. You can see here, it's parallel to the line on the ground. So my wrists are fully cocked, my back is to the target, my right elbow is supporting the club. It's as if I'm holding a tray up, but you can see here I'm not right underneath it. We don't have to contort the right arm. It's just underneath it in a way that it's supporting the golf club. It's slightly flared out in actual fact, and we'll get into describing the position of the right arm in a little more detail in a few minutes. But now we're at the top of the backswing. We're now in a position where, as our body moves forward, so hopefully our pivot motion is correct, as my body moves forward, the shaft now gets parallel to the target line once again at this point. That's the next position to check. So my wrists are still fairly cocked at this point. You see, I've held the wrist cock at this point. I haven't released the club early. The old thing of throwing the club from the top there is not what we want. We want to try to hold the club in this position here. You can see my right arm has started to straighten out here. It's a fallacy to think you have to drop your right elbow into your hip there. Your right arm should be straightening out at this point. So now we move to the next position, which is impact. And you can see as my body turns through out of the way here, the shaft pretty much assumes the position it was at address. But at this point here, my body has started to turn out of the way. You can see my hips are open to the target, my shoulders are slightly open, but my head is back behind the ball. I also feel when I do this, Bill, that I feel some pressure inside my left foot, as if I'm hitting into something here. So that's something we need a little bit of resistance down here as we swing through. The next position from impact is what we call the 4 o'clock position, which is very much a mirror image of this 8 o'clock. There's 8 o'clock, we turn through. There's the 4 o'clock position. And it's just simply a fact that the body and the club are tied into one another once again. We don't want to think in terms of trying to use the hands independently. So you can see how synchronized they are together, linked together here. From here, we just simply carry on to the finished position. As I swing through here, Bill, you will notice, and I'll swing towards you here so you can see this. As I swing through here, you can see how the club and the body really turn through together. The club is much more around me here. You could see in your swing, your hands and arms were finishing very high, very incomplete. So these positions are very important to understand. And you can see as I turn through the ball here, how my body and my arms are working in sync. There's none of this separation that we saw in your golf swing. And these positions, you need to go over and over and over again. Now you can see very clearly how if we repeat those positions consistently, that you're really going to develop a good swing, as long as your body is moving correctly. So it really requires you to keep that pivot motion working, because the positions are only going to be as good as your pivot will allow them to be. I'm going to go through this with you now, Bill, and show you the exact route that you need to take and the positions that you need to understand.
All right.
All right, now let me just move these balls out of the way so I don't break my ankle here. Okay, right, now let's choke down on the club there. You can take your normal grip. I know the grip feels a little bit thin holding the shaft like that, but take your posture position. Get that correct. Now, can you feel some pressure on your thigh there?
Yes.
Very good. Right, now let's make that first movement to 8 o'clock. So the belly button turns, and you should feel, when you move here, a little bit more pressure on your right heel at this point.
I do.
Now, this is the 8 o'clock position, where the hands are opposite your thigh, and the club head is outside of your hands as opposed to behind your hands.
All right.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have a little bit of movement, certainly with the left knee, not a lot at this stage. Right, so there's the first spot. Now we move to the next one, with the left arm's parallel to the ground. Keep the flex in your right knee the whole time as you do this. There we go. Your elbows will probably get a little bit wider as you do that too. There's just should be a slight widening of your elbows there. Nothing serious, but you can feel there at this point where the shaft is pointing. See, it's a good visual image to see the extension of the shaft there.
Yeah, that helps.
Right, so it's pointing somewhere, as I say, just between the line to the target and the line across your toes, if we lie a club down across your toes. Okay, can you feel that?
Yes.
So at this point here, you haven't certainly, by any stretch of the imagination, completed your turn, but you will now, and now we get to the top of the backswing here. Keep your left shoulder under your chin there. Now always remember, just a little thought, when you're doing any sort of drill and you're checking the top of your backswing, don't turn your head like that because it tends to put you out of position. Always get there and then look. That's just a little tip there for you, all right?
All right.
There's the club, pretty much parallel to the target line. Right, now we go to the next spot. As we move the body here, we're moving the body. Now we get the shaft parallel to the target line once again. So we can see the angle is still held. The right arm is starting to straighten slightly. So this is the angle we're trying to hold. the wrist angle, not so much your arm angle. That's an area that's confused a lot of people. They've heard, well, you've got to hold the angle. It's what we call club head lag, where the club head lags behind the hands. But this right arm actually should straighten slightly. This is the angle, the back of the wrist.
All right.
Right, now the next spot is impact. You see your body's turned out of the way there. So you're slightly up on your right foot there, which is fine. So now the shaft has occupied its original position. And then from there to the finish. Much more rounded finish there, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't feel high enough to me.
Right, well, that's a fallacy. See, one of the myths there that we can dispel for you here right now, where we don't want to try to finish high. You see, if we just simply got the club to here, this pretty much is a mirror image of your backswing plane. So as it carries on, it's around the back of your head here. And if you look at most of the good players when they finish, that in fact is where the club will position itself.
All right.
All right, why don't you do that on your own there? That's it. That's the next spot there, parallel, right? Impact. Good. Finish. Beautiful. Now that's a great looking golf swing. If we can speed that up and put the ball in the way, we're going to hit some super shots, aren't we?
I hope so.
So let's move on to the next drill, shall we?
All right.
As I've said earlier, we need to make sure that you get started correctly. So this 8 o'clock position that I've spoken about is very important. Now, let me show you a little exercise so that you know when you're in the correct 8 o'clock position. So take your address position for me. Good. That's it. Looking pretty natural at address now. Now I'm going to take this club that's lying on the ground here and simply put it between your heel of your left foot and the toes of your right foot.
All right.
Okay, so it's at 45 degrees to your feet. Right, now all I want you to do is make your movement and then simply stop. When you look down, you can see through this shaft that you can see the shaft below you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do you see the two shafts on top of one another now?
Yes.
Good. Now that really is your 8 o'clock position. So now if you were to turn round, okay, turn your feet round and face the club now, move everything round, you're in your original address position.
That's right.
So you can see you really haven't manipulated anything to get to that 8 o'clock position. So this is a very good drill just to simply test whether you're in the right position at 8 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more drill for you in this positioning stage, Bill, and all it requires you to do is make the positions or make the swing that we've been working on the last few minutes and just split your hands on the grip.
All right.
Now what this is going to do for you is to give you the feeling and the sensation of what your right arm and right side are doing in the golf swing. Because certainly I feel that the right arm is probably the most misunderstood part of the golf swing. Playing golf right-handed, we have to know and understand what our right side does. So just take your address position there. Put your right hand down towards the end of the grip. You have about 2 or 3 inches between each hand there. Good. Right, now let's make the backswing. Swing it back to the top of the swing. Good, and again. You just remove the ball and just make the whole swing this time. Good. What does that feel like?
It feels very compact.
Right, that's good. See, there's a lot less wasted motion in your golf swing than you had. Remember, all the movement that you had going in and up and across there would really get you out of position. So it's a much simpler golf swing. And this drill gives you an excellent feeling of what your right arm should be doing, especially as you make the movement away. You should feel like it's more on top. Is that the case?
Mm-hmm.
And it'll support the club at the top here, and then as you swing down, you see, hitting a golf ball is very much like throwing a ball. So let me show you, let me illustrate this to you. All I'm going to do is take a golf ball in my right hand, take my address position, make my movement back, and then you can see as I swing my right arm through, my right arm will actually straighten as if I'm trying to release this ball onto the ball on the ground. So let's see if I can do this. Simple as that, Bill. You'll be pleased to know that you're just about ready to hit some golf balls. Just about.
That's great. Well, you know, the swing is really feeling like it's starting to come together.
Well, it certainly looks good. And, you know, what you have now is economy of movement. There's a lot less wasted motion going on. And the fact of the matter is, if you can get this golf swing down where it becomes instinctive, you're going to have a repeating swing. So the simpler the swing, the better. So what I want you to do is make sure you keep doing these drills until you get out of those old habits. You know, old habits do die hard, so they're going to keep coming back. So these are things that you can fall back on and keep doing. You know, your golf swing really now, Bill, looks like the dog is wagging the tail. Right, you ready to strike the ball?
I think so.
All right, well, I'm going to show you how you're going to do this, all right, because it's maybe not quite as easy as it looks. I'm going to take a 9-iron here and I'm going to tee it up. I've teed this up here, Bill, just to make it a little bit easier, but it really does describe what the right arm should be doing in the swing. Certainly the golf swing is a two-sided movement. The left side does play an important part as far as how you clear as you hit the golf ball, but the actual hitting motion, I believe, is really done with the right side. So hitting a few shots with a 9-iron will give you that sensation. Why don't you come and have a go at it? Now, you might want to make a couple of practice swings because it's not quite as easy as it looks. Put your left hand on your hip pocket. Good. You can really feel what your right arm is doing, can't you?
I can tell this is going to be difficult.
Go ahead and hit one. That was very good for your first attempt, Bill. So now this is an excellent drill just to simply feel what you're doing. I wouldn't hit any more than about a 9-iron. Just tee it up because you want to make it easy. It's not something you have to go out and test yourself with, but give you that sensation. That's the key. So let's place this under your left arm. Now just make a couple of practice swings for me. Now this really does require you to make some half swings. I don't want you to try to swing it full because although we want to sense that your left arm maintains the pressure on your chest, in a full swing the arm would rise up the chest and the head cover would fall out. Also, as you work through into your finish position, the head cover would fall out. So really restrict yourself just a little half swings.
Okay.
Now, let me go through this with you. You make your movement, and this will really give you the sensation of the wrists hinging. So we hinge them up in this direction, we turn the body through, we unhinge to the ball, we then re-hinge them up in this direction, and you can see the movement through here is very much a mirror image of the backswing. Right. So constantly we're trying to sense that what happens through the ball mirrors the backswing. Now, certainly you won't be able to use your arms to any great extent here, will you? No. So all your power and your speed will be generated through the turning of your body. See, so the quicker you turn your body, the further the ball's going to go. Right. So all the speed has to come from this part.
That pivot motion. That's
right, the pivot motion, exactly. Now, why don't you go ahead and hit 1 or 2 shots for me, and just relax there. Good, I like that. It's really coming on well. This is a super drill for you. So now, I've got a little drill here that will help to facilitate purely a body release, as I call it. Now, body release is very much where the body is controlling the release of the club rather than purely just the hands and the arms. Now, if you can just take your address position for me. Now, swing it back to the point where your left arm is parallel to the ground. Now, if you remember earlier, I mentioned to you that if you can get to that position correctly, where you can have the club on the correct plane and your wrists are fully cocked, if you can make a swing from that point, you've got a reasonably good chance of hitting good shots.
All right.
So you see, you can actually split the swing up into 2. So if you can actually learn to hit golf balls from this position, so you take it back to that point, or move it back, I should say. I tried to get out of the term taking the club away, so by moving it back to this point. Very good. Keeping nice and relaxed. Now, if you can just simply turn your body and pump the club a couple of times like this, and then get into actually hitting the shot. So from here on, it's very much a case of turn your body back and turn your body through. So why don't you do that for me now and hit 1 or 2 shots?
All right.
So take your time there. It doesn't matter how long you take to get to that point where your left arm is parallel. All right. That's good. Now look back at the ball. Just pump it once or twice. Good. The area that I think you really need to be conscious of now is your lower body movement. You know, we've been taught for so long we've got to get our weight through, get our weight moving to the left side. Well, we do, but you know, if you slide your legs and get your weight moving too quickly to your left side, you actually get out of balance. So it's crucial that as you swing through the ball, that at impact you feel your weight is actually into your left leg but not outside of it. So remember when we put that shaft up, let me indicate that like this. Make your backswing. Now this illustrates the shaft that we had in the ground. Good. Now as you swing back down, and we have to learn to move and turn inside that. Very good. Now your tendency is to actually slide past the shaft. So we need to try to keep turning inside this imaginary line or shaft that we have outside of your left foot. Okay, now to help you to do this, and this is a drill that many golfers would benefit from tremendously, I want you to take your address position. It'll feel a little awkward, I'll warn you, but it's a good one. Now, I want you to actually turn your left foot in, actually point it inwards there. Now, maybe just move your feet a little bit this time. So the ball, it might appear a little further back because of doing this drill, but just hook your foot in there, even a little bit more if you can. Good. Now, you will find, you might want to have a practice swing. I don't want you to break your ankle here, so have a practice swing, but you'll certainly feel how, as you swing through the ball there, that you're swinging into your left side. Good. Now, it'll restrict you turning through just a little bit, but don't worry about that. The most important thing is that you feel you're hitting into your left leg. Good. You feel the restriction there?
Very much so, right in here.
Exactly. You feel the pressure and the resistance right inside there. So it doesn't allow you to slide by the ball. We want you to make sure you turn and hit into your left side. So why don't you go ahead and hit a shot for me doing that, please, Bill? Remember, just be aware of your alignment here. So, right, when you look at the target, always try to turn your eyes under. That way you get a much better view of the target. That's it. Good. Turn the foot in just a little bit more. Good. Now just go ahead and make the same normal backswing you have been doing. Getting better. Getting much better. Automatically, because you're hitting into your left side, not sliding past the outside of your foot there, the swing is starting to come back around again. And you're not really having to think about it, are you?
No, I can definitely feel it, though.
Yes. Well, that's, as I said earlier in the lesson, you'll find that by doing one or two things, other things will actually happen correctly. See, it's a cause and effect situation. Final drill here, Bill.
Okay.
And this one's all involved with what I call the lubricant of the swing, tempo. I think probably more than anything else, people lose their tempo in the very start of the golf swing. They tend to snatch the club away from the ball. If people would learn that the club can move smoothly away, you know, the golf club does not weigh very much, and it doesn't take a great deal of effort to get the club swinging away from the golf ball. So what I'd like you to do is to do a little exercise, a little drill here for me, whereby you would actually start ahead of the golf ball and then simply make your movement away. So you're giving momentum to the club. You're not really having to force it away, and you can see from here, right now, all you do is just make the movement away there and get into the swing itself. Go ahead now. Do it without stopping. So you start here. You can turn. What I want you to do is actually have your knee in a little bit here, because that's actually how I would like you to start your golf swing, with just a little bit of a kick with your knee. That gets you started. So just a little bump with the knee, and then off we go. Back and through. Good. Now you can sense the rhythm and the flow of the golf swing here. That's so important. You know, all good players have good tempo. Some players certainly swing the club very differently, but they all have good tempo. Some people have a quicker tempo than others, but they have good rhythm and everything works in a nice smooth fashion here. Now, you can actually learn to hit golf balls like this. This is a super drill. So start forward, turn back, and through. You see, it takes a lot of the conscious thought out of the swing too, doesn't it? All right, why don't we go ahead and hit 1 or 2 shots doing this for us. Okay, hold it. Get the ball position. Could be, there you go. Just check that. Make sure it's off your armpit there.
I tend to get it back, don't I?
That's right. That's an old habit because of the way that you swung the club before, you see. Look back at the ball, little kick. There's a good one. Right at the flag. Let's do that again. Hit them like that, you'll definitely like the changes.
Oh, this is great.
So nice and relaxed there now. So start it forward. Remember, just kick the knee there. I like that little start to your swing there. Many great players just kick the knee. Have some little trigger to start the swing. Little kick now. Well, the swing's really coming on well. I mean, it's changed enormously from when we first started. Now, you've got a certain amount of things to think about. Now, what we're going to do now is just go ahead and hit some shots. And what I'd like you to be aware of is your target when you're doing this. When you're hitting shots, you can't think of too many things. I mean, all I want you to do is try to think of maybe 2 things. One, get your address position right, and then just one thing in the actual motion itself. And please, whatever you do, make sure that when you're hitting shots, that you do keep that target in mind. I keep saying that, but it's no good you just being so involved with your golf swing and not being aware of where you want the ball to go.
All right.
Well, after all this, it comes down to now hitting the shot, doesn't it?
That's right.
All right.
Well, it's a lot of pieces to put together, but let's see
Right.
what we can do.
Right. Now I'm going to give you one little tip here. Get behind the ball when you want to line up.
All right. Pick a spot somewhere ahead of it.
You've obviously read about this before, but it's a good idea to pick a little spot in front of the ball on your line to the target, and then simply walk yourself around and place the club head behind the ball on line to that, what we call the intermediate target. Feet together. Prior to you making your little kick with your knee, just exhale. Just let that tension out of your body there. Yeah, a little tight there. Well, that's understandable. But you know, if you can just breathe there, okay, it keeps you nice and relaxed. In all sports, people breathe, and that's important. Little kick there, and off you go. Well, certainly a big difference. My goodness.
Better.
It really is. So remember, on the odd shot there, let's make sure you get your alignment correct. Well, that was really good, Bill. Your swing's really coming on a treat.
Thank you, David.
Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you on your own to practice for a while. I want you to hit some shots, but I also want you to make sure you do a lot of the drills in between. Remember, when you practice, it's quality, not quantity. You see many golfers just hit ball after ball without any real conscious thought. So take your time, make sure you're conscious of your target, and get the feel for what we're trying to get you to do. And I'm going to come back and put you on video and then have a look at the old swings and compare them to what they're looking like now.
That sounds great.
Good. Well, you're serious about these drills, aren't you, Bill?
Well, I am, David. You know, this alignment drill has really helped me quite a bit. I feel like I'm really starting to understand what the golf swing's supposed to do.
Well, it's certainly looking good. I mean, it's such a different look about your swing than it was previously. Have you hit quite a few good shots?
I have hit quite a few good shots. Hit a few terrible ones, but I wasn't going to tell you about them.
Well, that's understandable at this stage. You know, everything's so new, but as long as you've kept doing the drills. I mean, that's important. Keep doing them in between hitting shots.
They've really helped over the last couple of hours. I've made some good progress.
Good. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. The swing's, say, looking excellent. Why don't we just hit a couple of woods here to make sure you understand how the swing works with the wood.
All right. Thank you.
You know, really, Bill, the swing is no different at all. It's just a matter of how you approach it. First of all, with an iron, certainly we're hitting down on the ball a lot more. But with a wood, we've got more of an ascending blow. So to help you to hit this, all you've got to do really is get your foot moved further to the right, your right foot that is, so you have a wider stance. So you go through the same routine. Very good. And now just feel there's a little bit more weight on your right side. So that sets your right side maybe just a little bit lower than your left at address. Can you feel your right side a little bit lower?
Yes, the ball feels like it's much farther forward.
Yes, that's really an illusion because it's really in the same place. So it's right opposite your left armpit there, you see. Now the sensation really is that you're going to hit up on the ball. So you just sense maybe that your head's a little more behind the ball as you make contact. But to all intents and purposes, you're just making the same golf swing.
All right.
All right? So, good smooth rhythm here. How about that?
That felt great.
What a good swing that was. So hit one more for me, please.
That ball position looked pretty good.
That looks very good, yes. Nice and comfortable there. I think you're really going to like the look of that, Bill. So what I'd like to do at this stage is for you now to hit your 6-iron again. I don't think you need these clubs lying on the ground any longer. I think you've got that down pat. And I'm going to put some swings on film for you, then we're going to go back and have a look at them and compare them to your old swings.
All right, great.
All right? Well, even at normal speed, Bill, the swing is looking so much better. Your shots are starting to fly straighter. Your divots look a lot squarer now towards the target. Overall, you look so much more relaxed and your rhythm's better and finishing in better balance. So you've done a super job so far. Let's see how your new swing matches up against your old one, Bill. Certainly a big difference there. Let's have a little look, Bill, just at a few of the different positions that you've got into. The dress position looks so much different. Ball position's in a good spot, and you look better balanced. As you move in a halfway back position, look at the flex in your right knee, and look how much simpler your turn looks. Much better balance there. Now here's a big change at the top, Bill. Look at the gap between your knees. Certainly much more compact looking golf swing. The club is no longer looking across the line. And I'd just like to see possibly a little bit more weight even into your right side than you have at the moment. So certainly looking good, but can still get better. I like the look of this. You've held on to the angle so much better, and look at your upper body. So you haven't got that big tilt that you had before. Your weight is now moving more into your left side. What a good-looking impact position you have there, Bill. It looks like everything's working forward into the left side. You're off your right foot, and your hands are now ahead of the club head. Great impact position. Well, I think you've got now a classical finish position here, Bill. You look like you're down more. You're not standing straight up on it. The club is more around your body, and your arms are more linked to your turn. Looks a lot different to the old one, doesn't it? Checking on you at address, Bill, the first thing we see is how much better your alignment is. You've got all your body parts, your shoulders, your hips, your knees, and your feet all lined up, parallel to the target. But look at your posture, how much better your body angles are. You've now got your weight more on the balls of the feet, not hanging out onto your toes. Now we're going to have an overall look at your golf swing as far as maintaining your angles. See the outline of your body there? You watch as you swing how you'll now stay within those outlines. That will really help your consistency. On your finish position, you've come out of that outline, which is fine. I like this change. This is very important. Look how the club head now is outside of your hands. A totally different position. Now, having a look at your plane, you can see it's on a much steeper angle than it was originally. I like this position. This is certainly going to help you get in a good top of the backswing position to come down. The whole golf swing now really, Bill, is so much more compact. You're in better balance. I like how you've retained the flex in your right knee. And really through impact, your arms and your body are so much closer together. It's like your body is controlling the club. Or as I call it, the dog's really wagging the tail now. Well, Bill, the way the swing's starting to look, you don't have to pay me for this lesson. You can just give me a percentage of your winnings.
Well, it's starting to look a little better, isn't it, David?
Well, I'm really excited for you because that's a tremendous difference from earlier in the week, you know, and if we can just keep you on this track there's no question you're going to play some super golf.
Well, you've given me some good drills and some good swing thoughts that hopefully I can practice and maybe even improve a little more.
Well, these thoughts are so important, Bill, because what you have to work on is a long-term plan for improvement. You know, if you work on these quick tips, they only last for a short period of time. But what you need is a program to work on, and I think with these thoughts, you now become your own best teacher. So you can analyze your own swing. You can put yourself on film, you can check yourself in a video, and you can have continued improvement. That's the big thing. Know what to work on. When you get out on the practice tee, know what you're practicing on. So many people just go out and hit balls not really knowing what they're doing. Now, the big thing is now being able to transfer this out onto the golf course because that's a little different out there, as you well know. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to go out and play a few holes now and see if we can, you know, practice what we've worked on and see if we can work a little on the mental side of it too because it's a little different and I think you're going to find you're going to have a lot of fun out there with this. Well, here we are on the first tee, and this is what it's all about, learning to score well and play well. And many people, Bill, ask me if they should take time off and not even play after they've had instruction. But I say as long as you can keep your thoughts separate and keep your thoughts to a minimum out on the golf course and be very aware of your scoring abilities, in other words, you've got to rely on your short game and try to see the shots that you want to hit. If you can do all that and keep away from all the technical stuff, which is what you obviously have to try to work on at home and on the practice tee, then you'll be able to play well still. The thing that I see that many people do, they're so conscious of their swing and every single aspect of it, they get tight and they get tense and they really can't swing. So the important thing to remember is when you're out here is work on a good routine. Get behind the golf ball, see the shot that you want to hit, get down, go ahead and trust your swing and go ahead and play. Fine.
Is there anything that I should be keying on right now?
Well, as I said before, I think one swing thought would be great. And the one I'd like you to work on is thinking in terms of your navel and the club moving together. If you can get started correctly, you've got every chance of making a good swing.
All right, well, let's try one here.
All right, just relax. Great shot, Bill. If you work at your swing in the right way, you can't help but improve your game.